Welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Patrice Berry, licensed clinical psychologist, and this is probably one of the most requested videos in quite a while. And thank you to every person that recommended I do this. Thank you to people that talked about where I could find information on this case. My original hesitation with covering this case was that the Jane Doe in the case, I've heard stories of lawsuits being filed against creators and all of that. And so I will be referring to her as Jane Doe. And I want to make it very clear this is my disclaimer because we are just talking about what somebody in this type of situation, both Clayton and then also Jane Doe, what somebody might be experiencing in a situation like this. While I am a psychologist, I'm not able to give a psychological evaluation or anything like that in this case because I am solely giving my own opinions for educational purposes only based on publicly available information. So that is the disclaimer there. Dave Neal has done phenomenal coverage of this case, and it was actually watching his video. I will go on ahead and share that really quick, and I have links to his video down in the description if you wanted to check out his case. I'm sorry, not his case, his coverage, because like truly his channel was how I found really the courage to even really talk about this because it's just there's been a lot of drama and I'm not about that drama. And so here is his video, and I'm going to be sharing some information that he shares in this video. So it's a press release that was released by Clayton's attorney. That is my understanding of what this document is. And so I went and found the same document, and that is what we are going to be talking about today. And then we are going to talk about false pregnancies, like what can happen when somebody is engaging in this type of behavior, what could be going on psychologically. I, once again, do not know what is happening with this particular individual. Based on the reporting, it sounds like there might be a history of this, and that's what can sometimes send up all of these red flags. I want us to be very careful to not immediately try to say, because sometimes when behavior is really outrageous, we want to run to a psychological explanation when really the simplest answer might be somebody might just be doing this for just like there might not be a diagnosable psychological condition. And so we're definitely going to chat about this. If you would like a phenomenal overview of this case, I have this channel. It is Austin Green. Yes. So he did like this video, he did a great job breaking down just the history, also some of the past alleged I guess alleged victims? So the past men that have made allegations that a similar thing has been done to them, he covers all of that in this video, and I have that linked down below. What I really wanna get to is this press release. So for anyone that has not heard about this case, so Clayton Echard, he was on The Bachelorette and then he was on The Bachelor. And after all of that, he ended up posting on his Instagram that he was starting to be a realtor. And the allegation is that Jane Doe reached out to him on LinkedIn and they met up. There are allegations that he had like an edible and they did not have intercourse. The allegation is that they only had oral, like that was all. And there was no penetration because then shortly after that, she alleged that she was pregnant. And so let's take a look at this press release really quick. All right. So and this was released on March 7th of 2024. In response to media inquiries, Mr. Eckhart has authorized the release of this statement. Clayton, and I'm gonna skip over a few words sometimes, and so, like, please check out the full link, like, if you wanna read every word. But Clayton vehemently denies ever having intercourse with Jane Doe and her correspondence part of the 500 pieces of communication that predicated them filing all of their legal stuff confirms the same. Clayton immediately realized he did not want to have a relationship shortly after a consensual non-intercourse encounter with Ello. So it's based on everything I've heard about this case. After they had that interaction, after like so I think it might have been like the day after, and I think like they say like so after they met up and they not consensual, non-sexual, interaction, that he immediately was like, "This isn't professional," because he was gonna partner, like, they were going to like, he was gonna be her realtor. And so he tried to kinda back away, he wasn't looking for anything serious, and I think he even apologized for not making that more clear upfront. And so so things kinda go downhill from that. He promptly attempted to distance himself from Jane Doe both personally and professionally. 5 days after their non-intercourse encounter, LO started suggesting she may be pregnant. 6 days after she claimed that, she had confirmed she was pregnant, within weeks, she claimed she was carrying twins, male and female. Okay, so I need to make myself bigger for this part because y'all know I have a 6-year-old son. And, my partner and I, our child was not technically planned, like, we weren't, against the idea, but I had been tracking my ovulation, and I was aware that, like, "Hey," and I even let my partner know, like, "Hey, just a heads up, like, I'm ovulating, and so, like, we we might make a baby." And, so right before so this was probably like 2 so the whatever, okay, so 2 weeks before that. So then we come to the day I'm supposed to get my period. I took a pregnancy test, and immediately it was positive, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm pregnant." I think I took 2 or 3 because I had been tracking, like, we had been not trying, but, like, I had been taking pregnancy tests for a period of time. I was 34 when I conceived our child, and I really did. So it was in my heart to if we were gonna have a child, like, I wanted to try to have a kid before I was 35. And geriatric pregnancies are fine, and I hate that they even call it geriatric pregnancies, but I immediately called a doctor, and that doctor would not see me until I was 9 weeks. So I had to wait because at that point, I was 6 weeks pregnant, I believe. Like, the doctor would not see me for, like, 3 more weeks. And, because, it can be common, so, like, people can there can be false positives, and so the doctor would not see me when I initially took that early detection pregnancy test that yes, I think it was early blue, I don't remember what I took. But when I first found out I was pregnant, the doctor wouldn't even see me. We did not find out the we didn't have our first ultrasound until maybe 12 to 15 weeks, and one of those was an early ultrasound because of my age. Because I was 34 and the doctor was like, "You're not 35, but, like, you're a year away, so we recommend that you do the extra screening," and I agreed to do any screening that, like, wasn't invasive, that I didn't want any, like, but, like so one of the screenings I could do was an ultrasound, and we did that. But this had to be like way into the pregnancy. We didn't find out the sex of our child until like maybe I don't know if it was closer to like 15 weeks, but like it wasn't this soon. Like it wasn't this early. And sometimes twins like, they're not always found during that first ultrasound. Like, at the times that she's making these reports, that's where some of this information just does not make any sense, just based on the timeline that Clayton is providing. And it's my understanding because they went to court recently, she is going to provide some patient first records, um, because it's my understanding that she's saying that she was pregnant from around, like, and I'm out, and they have the exact timeline listed over here, from maybe June until almost October, November timeframe. And so trigger warning for child loss, trigger warning for miscarriages. But like when somebody has, like, when you're that far along and you go into labor or you start to think you might be having, like, there might be a problem, doctors immediately see you. Sometimes they try to see if they can make the pregnancy last, or if the person does miscarry, they then have to do procedures to make sure that, like, all, because there can the pregnant person can be at risk if all of the materials don't come out. Like, there's a big process. Like, you don't just, you're not that far along and and miscarry, and like, and you don't have records to back it up, in my opinion, based on my understanding. And so, like, you all are like saying the exact same thing. So anyone that kind of knows about what happens with pregnancy or what happens in these situations, you understand this. I did also want to mention, so there was a TV show where, and I don't remember how she did it. I don't remember if it was from a condom or if it was, y'all remember, it was on BET, Mary Jane. It was a show with Gabrielle Union. Yes, becoming Mary Jane. Let me share this tab. But, like, she steals, like, sperm from a guy, and, like, she tries to impregnate herself, but, like, she actually froze the sperm and goes through all of this stuff. Like, this immediately reminded me of this storyline, but I I I just I think I can say, based on what's made available and based on what I've heard so far, it doesn't sound, it doesn't sound accurate. And so, let me keep going with this press release. And so, 6 days after she had confirmed she was pregnant, within weeks, she claimed to be carrying twins, male and female. So even if they know you're having twins, they normally don't confirm the gender of those until, like, further along. And so, like, all of this is just, it's not making sense to me as an outside observer. Mr. Eckhart was beyond incredulous of the pregnancy because the performance of fellatio does not cause pregnancy. It's so sad that they had to put this in a press release. Her rapidly evolving yarn did not comport with obstetr oh my gosh. This language is fine. So I have a processing thing where with reading, where sometimes things, and these words are just very big. So it doesn't comport with, like, what we understand about pregnancy. Her claim of twins with assigned genders less than 8 weeks into pregnancy did not comport with medical science, and I I have nothing to add. The consequence of Clayton ignoring communication with Jane Doe, refusing to enter into her dating contract, and demands to meet with him privately to discuss a parenting plan for the pretend twins, like, this is their language, not mine, was that she vindictively contacted The Sun, Page Six, and New York Post. The Sun first reported the story without knowledge that LO had been accused of fabricating pregnancies and doctoring medical evidence as a means to extort relationships several times dating back 10 years. So that's the part that makes this a little bit more, so when somebody has a history of this, that's what makes it, even more concerning. So that's where there's a part of me that's just wondering, has somebody in this type of situation, do they have this elaborate scam almost? Like, is because you hear about these, you know, and it's normally men. So like, you hear about men dating women and then, like, extorting them for money and then, like, disappearing. And often when people are victims of situations like this, they normally don't go public because it's incredibly embarrassing to have all of this information out there. And if he hadn't been a public figure, because some of the other people that this happened to my knowledge, I don't think they went public with all of this. And trial coverage is becoming more popular because that's what Dave Neal, I think, live streamed one of the earlier reports, one of the earlier court cases, court hearings. And this is just all just wow. And wow. So I understand why people wanted me to break this down and talk about this more. The byproduct of media coverage she obtained was the unification of some prior victims who have shared their experiences. The commonalities included medical image hijacked and photoshopped from the recesses of the internet. And so there are allegations that they might have been from blog posts. So one guy, like, 'cause she sent him the allegation, she allegedly sent him sonogram image, like an image. And normally with imaging, it has like your name. Because I know for all of my imaging, and that's why I was very careful about sharing any of my ultrasound pictures publicly because it had like the name of my doctor, my name and date of birth. Like those images had a lot of personal information on it. And so I always cropped that part out if I ever shared any of those publicly. and but but one guy reverse image searched it and found that exact image on a blog, which was a red flag for him. And so understandably. And so, all right. And attempts by Jane Doe to get them to agree to date her in exchange for her discontinuing sham pregnancies. Those are their words, not mine. And that's where sometimes people try to bring up, is this an attachment disorder? Is this what is going on here? And I recently covered the Love is Blind finale, and I wish that people did not set their worth and value on their relationship status or their parenthood status, or because to me, if a guy doesn't want to be with me, I'm not going to like trick you to be with me. Like that is not something that I would do. I want somebody to willingly choose me and to choose to stay in the relationship because they want to. I don't want to trick them, manipulate them, coerce them. I don't want to engage in that type of behavior to get somebody to stay with me. And so, okay. And so, um, I'm gonna keep reading. Boxed into her fable after being captured on camera jumping horses during her high-risk pregnancy. So I think they have, like, a horse farm or something, and there was a video of her, like, riding horseback. So now you can do a lot of things pregnant. I think it's the track and field star. I am horrible with names, but she became very famous. She won a gold medal while she was like, I think she was in her first trimester of her pregnancy. And because my doctor, when I was pregnant, they said you can do anything that you were doing before you were pregnant, but just avoid like things that are really intense. And so I don't think my doctor would have let me ride horseback. I don't think that would have been something that they would have okayed because the whole reason I took the pregnancy test that day was I was going to Zumba later that day. And I was like, do I need to scale it back? Like, do I need to not be like jumping around as much and stuff when I go to Zumba? And sure enough, I was pregnant and I did. Okay. And so all of this. So they end up saying that private medical records will not be shared publicly. Um, and they put in their press release that Jane Doe has denied that a sonogram received from her and posted by her to the internet is in her medical record. and there are allegations that she actually doctored that image. Records from Southwest Medical Imaging were tampered with by, and these are their allegations, by Jane Doe, admitted that she altered medical records and falsely attributed them to Southwest Medical Imaging. So like this medical imaging place came forward and said, these are not our images. Like they were, I believe they came forward and said that. Oh, and so all of that. Let me come back to the chat. Let's come back and talk about this. I do want to get to DARVO because I have not talked about DARVO um in any of my videos. And so you all know, so a lot of you all follow the psychology terms, and DARVO is deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. And what that means is that, and this is a form of gaslighting and manipulation, emotional abuse. I'm not saying that's what's happening in this case. This case just reminded me of this, and I thought this would be a good time for us to talk about it. So, while harm in any situation is unique, there are some strategies that some people deploy to deny their wrongdoing or attack on the offended and reverse roles with the victim to make themselves the victim or the harmed person. And based on what I've heard, just based on the information I've seen, it sounds like from things I've heard, there have been allegations that she has, like, talked about feeling like she was gonna harm herself, or, like, there were all of these things that kinda came forward that, in my opinion, are red flags, and that people, so, like, if somebody contacted me and was like, "Hey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna do this," I would I would have somebody reach out, like, to check in on that person. I'm not gonna do the thing they said just because they, like, make that threat. And so, um, all right, Darvo summarizes a consistent reaction and manipulation tactic used by people that are not safe. This term was coined by psychologist Dr. Freud. Freud? That's so funny. That it's almost like Freud, but I think it's Fried. Fry. I don't know. Freyd in the 90s. I know the 1900s in the in the 90s. um, uh, she worked to build an understanding of how and why those who were accused of harm, how and why they respond to those accusations. And this specifically came out of studying essay. So, like, if somebody came out and said that they were essayed, because often what happens is people ask the victim, "What were you wearing? Did you say?" Like they people often attack the victim, and like this is what that research comes out of. Certainly, not all of these groups implement Darvo tools all the time, but they may have in the past. And so they list, gaslighters, people who have narcissistic traits, and different stuff like that. And so, Darvo can be used by anyone in response to being held accountable for wrongdoings they have committed. When it was first introduced by Dr. Jennifer Freud, Darvo was conceptualized as a technique used by SA offenders to deflect blame. You can see examples of this in the media, like with R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein. They use Darvo, but it's not just a tactic used by perpetrators. It can also be seen in things that aren't quite as severe. All right. So, what does it look like in action? So the individual who's actually in the wrong will deny, minimize, and justify their actions. And this is a three-step process to sway personal and public opinion quickly. These techniques can happen so subtly that many people will miss warning signs. Instead, they will fall into the pattern of manipulation. And so that deny is that first step. They're going to deny that what the person is accusing happened. It never happened. I never did that. This is a lie. I'm a good person who wouldn't do this. Attack. Once the denial is established, the accused goes on the offensive, where they do everything in their power to attack the other person, question their motivation, mental health, stability, intelligence, honesty, morality, all of that. You're crazy, you're a psycho, you're blah, blah, blah. You're this and that. Yeah, all right. And then reverse victim and offender. Perhaps the most fascinating element of DARVO is the attempt of the person doing the harm to switch roles with the victim. Rather than accepting responsibility for their actions, they aim to make the original victim the perpetrator. This reversal is done in many ways depending on the situation and accusation. At times, the attempt seems to lack outward validity and rationality, but that part seems unimportant. And so, all right. All right. So I definitely wanted to share that part. I did also just want to say, so the US Weekly came out with a article, and in that article they I think they say they reached out to Jane Doe. I think it's at the end of this is where she okay, in response, the unnamed woman told us in a Thursday statement, "My pregnancy was definitely confirmed on June 1st, 2023 by an urgent care facility." So she denies that she's lying about this or any of that. Like, that is what she has said, and that's what we have. All right. Let me know if you all have questions about this. Oh, cool. So, um, somebody mentioned that they did ride horses while they were pregnant. Um, I thought it was important. I hadn't mentioned DARVO yet on any of my videos, and people often mentioned it because when I talk about narcissism or when I talk about different techniques, like when I talk about different things like that, I had never mentioned that. I had one more thing I wanted to share, and I have it linked down below. So, Spidey Behavioral Arts, he has a video on how to not be manipulated. And let me see. Some techniques to use to avoid manipulation. And so it's called Become Impossible to Manipulate. And so some people use persuasion. Persuasion doesn't involve anyone losing. So, like a salesperson, they try to persuade you into buying something, but like if you don't buy, it's fine. Like they're not going to make any threats they're not going to it'll be fine if you don't buy anything. Manipulation, there's a clear winner and loser, and then gaslighting just takes it to a whole nother perspective. And I have definitely talked about gaslighting here on my channel before. And so I have that video linked down below. I took a look at that too in preparing for this case. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't already liked the video, make sure to like it. Um, this situation, it really made me think of that particular acronym just based on what I've heard. And I will admit, so I've only heard people that are strongly on Clayton's side. I have not heard anyone speak and support Jane Doe. Um, it's my understanding that the family has, like her mom, I think, I don't know. Just based on some of the reporting I've seen, it sounds like she has the support of her family. But and what really hurts my heart in this is that somebody could legit be pregnant and go to their partner to say like, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and then their partner, thinks, "Are they lying to me? Are they trying to get me to stay?" And so I definitely like, to me, using pregnancy to get your way, huge red flag. Like that is not okay. And then also like When people are in a relationship, if there are signs of if there are red flags. This was a one night stand. Like this was like a one time thing. Like he wasn't in a relationship with her. If he had been in a relationship for longer, um uh I think I think that would kind of change things, but all right. I know. I'm gonna all right. Let's see. I'm just catching up on the comments. Hey, mama. My mama's in the chat. Uh, Thank you for joining and thank you for saying something because sometimes mama doesn't say anything. All right. So I don't see any questions. Those are my thoughts on that particular case. Right after this, I am just going to take a moment to go to the bathroom. And so, in about 5 minutes, we are going to take a look at Robin Howington. This is a court case. So, this is my entertainment kind of news coverage. This is my next case is going to be a court case. And I want to take a look at her testimony 'cause it was a bit of a mess, and I definitely want to take a look at that. You will be redirected to that video. If you don't wanna watch that video, enjoy the rest of your day. If you do wanna follow me over to that video, I will be pressing that live button in about 5 minutes. So use the bathroom, get your water. We'll be starting soon. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.